On March 14th, 2025, radio telescopes around the world detected something that defied every natural explanation astronomers could offer. The signal appeared suddenly at exactly 3:47 in the morning Universal Time, originating from a region near Sagittarius A star, the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy. What made it immediately extraordinary was its structure, a repeating sequence of pulses that followed prime numbers: 2 beats, 3 beats, 5 beats, 7 beats, 11 beats, 13 beats. The pattern continued with mathematical precision that natural phenomena simply cannot produce. Prime numbers have long been considered the universal language of mathematics. Any civilization that develops technology must discover them. They're fundamental, inevitable, and unmistakable. When a radio signal from space pulses in prime number sequences, it eliminates every natural explanation astronomers typically rely on. Pulsars create regular beats, but never in prime patterns. Quasars emit radiation, but without mathematical structure. Fast radio bursts flash chaotically across cosmic distances. This signal was different. It was organized, purposeful, and impossible to dismiss as cosmic coincidence. The transmission operated on the 21 centimeter wavelength, the exact frequency that hydrogen atoms naturally emit and absorb. This wavelength is significant because hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe, making it the most logical choice for interstellar communication. Any civilization capable of building radio telescopes would monitor this frequency. The signal's creator knew this and chose it deliberately. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. Within 48 hours of initial detection, every major radio telescope facility either went offline for scheduled maintenance or was quietly redirected to other observation targets. The Green Bank Observatory in West Virginia, the Parkes Observatory in Australia, the 500-meter Aperture Spherical Telescope in China, and the successor facilities to Arecibo all stopped publishing their observation schedules. Public data feeds went dark. Real-time sky surveys that had operated continuously for years suddenly displayed maintenance notifications. Amateur radio enthusiasts noticed the absence immediately. For decades, professional observatories had shared data streams with hobbyist networks, allowing citizen scientists to participate in astronomical research. Those streams cut off simultaneously across multiple continents within 72 hours of the signal's detection. Online forums filled with questions. Why the coordinated shutdown? Why the lack of explanation? The silence from institutions that typically embraced public engagement felt deliberate and coordinated. Meanwhile, the signal itself continued broadcasting with unwavering consistency. It repeated its prime number sequence every 11 minutes and 43 seconds, a timing so precise that atomic clocks could be calibrated against it. The repetition interval itself carried meaning. 11 minutes and 43 seconds equals 703 seconds. And 703 is a prime number. Even the timing was mathematical communication. Analysis of the signal's power requirements revealed something deeply unsettling. To reach Earth with the strength detected by multiple observatories, the transmission would require energy output equivalent to focusing the entire electromagnetic emission of a star. This wasn't a modest beacon. This was a broadcast meant to be heard across vast stretches of the galaxy, possibly across the entire Milky Way. Whatever created this signal commanded technology that dwarfed human capabilities by orders of magnitude. The signal's origin near the galactic center presented additional mysteries. That region, 26,000 light-years away, hosts some of the most extreme conditions in our galaxy. Intense radiation from the supermassive black hole, gravitational chaos from densely packed stars, and interstellar dust clouds that block most wavelengths of light make it a hostile environment for any form of life humans understand. Yet something there possessed both the technology and the motivation to broadcast a message that could traverse the galaxy. By early April, fragments of the signal began appearing on amateur radio recordings posted to social media. The uploads came from different continents, different equipment setups, all capturing the same rhythmic pulse. When converted to audio frequencies, the signal produced a deep, mechanical beat that listeners described as simultaneously artificial and organic. The pattern never varied, suggesting either automated transmission or a commitment to consistency that spanned weeks without interruption. The astronomical community maintained absolute public silence despite growing online speculation about a major discovery. No press releases, no conference announcements, no papers submitted to journals. The absence of communication from institutions that typically rushed to publicize significant findings became its own form of confirmation. Something profound had been detected, and someone had decided the public wasn't ready to know. To understand why the signal from Sagittarius represents something unprecedented, you need to grasp what astronomers have been listening for over the past 60 years. Since the first SETI searches began in 1960, radio telescopes have scanned the cosmos for artificial patterns among the natural radio noise of the universe. They've heard plenty of strange signals. Most turned out to be satellites, terrestrial interference, or misunderstood natural phenomena. A handful remain unexplained, but lack the characteristics needed to confirm intelligent origin. This new signal is different because it eliminates every alternative explanation. The prime number sequence alone wouldn't be enough. Astronomers require multiple independent characteristics before claiming discovery of extraterrestrial intelligence. The signal delivers exactly that. Beyond the prime pattern, the transmission exhibits bandwidth properties impossible in natural sources. Natural cosmic radio emissions spread across wide frequency ranges, creating fuzzy signals that blend into background noise. This signal occupies an impossibly narrow bandwidth, less than 1 Hz wide. That level of precision requires technology, deliberate filtering, and energy control that nature cannot produce. The modulation pattern adds another layer of artificial complexity. The signal doesn't simply turn on and off like a basic beacon. It employs what engineers call phase modulation, where the timing of wave peaks carries information separate from amplitude. This technique is fundamental to modern digital communication, but has never been observed in natural cosmic phenomena. Pulsars rotate and beam radio waves, but their emissions follow predictable physical processes. This signal manipulates its own structure in ways that require active control. Frequency stability provides perhaps the most compelling evidence. Natural radio sources drift across frequencies as they move through space, affected by their own motion and the expansion of the universe. This signal maintains absolute frequency lock, compensating for the Doppler shift caused by Earth's rotation, orbital motion, and the movement of our solar system through the galaxy. Whatever is transmitting this signal knows where Earth is and adjusts the frequency in real time to account for our motion. That level of targeting cannot occur by chance. The signal's strength presents another anomaly. Most cosmic radio sources follow an inverse square law, where intensity decreases with distance. Signals from 26,000 light-years away should be barely detectable, requiring massive telescopes and long integration times to distinguish from noise. This transmission arrives strong enough that amateur radio enthusiasts with backyard equipment can detect it. The power requirements are staggering, suggesting a civilization capable of harnessing stellar-scale energy. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. Embedded within the prime number sequence are additional mathematical constants. After the first 3 repetitions of the prime pattern, subtle variations appear in the pulse timing. These variations encode the fine structure constant, a fundamental number in physics that describes electromagnetic interaction strength. Then comes the ratio of a proton's mass to an electron's mass. Then the speed of light expressed in units derived from the signal's own wavelength. Whoever sent this message isn't just saying hello. They're demonstrating knowledge of our universe's fundamental physics. This mathematical embedding technique mirrors proposals made by SETI researchers in the 1970s and 80s for how humans might structure messages to alien civilizations. The idea was to start simple with prime numbers to establish mathematical communication, then build complexity by introducing physical constants that any technological species would recognize. The signal follows this theoretical framework so precisely, it seems like someone read our own plans for interstellar messaging and used them against us. The signal also exhibits timing properties that challenge our understanding of information transmission across cosmic distances. Light and radio waves travel at the same speed, taking 26,000 years to cross the distance from the galactic center to Earth. Yet the signal contains what appears to be error correction coding, a technique that guards against signal degradation during transmission. This suggests the senders anticipated their message would travel vast distances and engineered it to remain coherent despite interference from interstellar dust and plasma. Comparison with previous unexplained signals reveals how unprecedented this transmission truly is. The 1977 WOW signal lasted 72 seconds and never repeated. Fast radio bursts flash for milliseconds. The BLC-1 signal from Proxima Centauri in 2020, initially exciting, proved to be satellite interference. This new signal has broadcast continuously since detection, maintaining perfect consistency for weeks without interruption or variation beyond the intentional mathematical encoding. Every characteristic points toward deliberate, intelligent transmission using technology that surpasses human capabilities. The signal isn't just unusual, it's engineered specifically to be recognized as artificial, while demonstrating technical sophistication that places its creators far ahead of our own civilization on any scale of technological advancement. Within 1 week of the signal's initial detection, something unprecedented happened across the global astronomical community. Major observatories that had operated transparently for decades suddenly stopped publishing their observation schedules. The Green Bank Observatory, which had maintained a public calendar showing which sections of sky were being studied and by whom, replaced its detailed schedule with a generic maintenance notice. The Parkes Observatory in Australia did the same within 48 hours. The pattern repeated across continents with timing that suggested coordination rather than coincidence. The 500-meter aperture spherical telescope in China, the world's largest single-dish radio telescope, had been sharing limited data with international partners since its completion in 2016. That data stream ended abruptly on March 20th, 2025. No explanation was provided. Attempts by international collaborators to inquire about the shutdown received polite but firm responses, citing internal technical reviews. The timing, less than a week after the signal's detection, was impossible to ignore. Even more telling was the sudden unavailability of the Very Large Array in New Mexico. This facility, consisting of 27 radio antennas working together, had been a cornerstone of both professional research and educational outreach. Its visitor center closed for renovations that weren't on any previous maintenance schedule. Its real-time data feeds, which had allowed students and amateur astronomers worldwide to access observation data, went offline with a message promising restoration in 6 to 8 months. For a facility that prided itself on public engagement, the abrupt closure felt deliberate. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. While major observatories went dark, amateur radio enthusiasts started picking up fragments of the signal using equipment that cost less than a decent laptop. Online forums dedicated to radio astronomy filled with spectrographs showing the unmistakable prime number pattern. Users in Germany, Japan, Argentina, and Canada all posted independent confirmations. The signal was strong enough that anyone with a basic radio telescope and the right software could detect it. Yet professional institutions with billion-dollar equipment maintained absolute silence. The SETI Institute, the organization specifically founded to search for extraterrestrial intelligence, made no public announcements, despite this being exactly the kind of detection they'd spent decades pursuing. Their website continued posting articles about exoplanet discoveries and the search for biosignatures, but nothing about the most significant radio signal ever detected. Internal sources reported that staff had been directed to avoid discussing ongoing observations and to refer all media inquiries to a communications office that wasn't returning calls. Social media became the primary source of information as professional channels remained closed. Reddit communities dedicated to astronomy grew by hundreds of thousands of subscribers in days. Twitter hashtags tracking the signal trended globally despite no major news outlets covering the story. YouTube channels run by amateur astronomers posted daily updates, analyzing new recordings of the transmission. The contrast between grassroots documentation and institutional silence created an information vacuum filled with speculation and conspiracy theories. Leaked emails from several universities revealed that graduate students and junior researchers had been instructed to halt any analysis of signals from the Sagittarius region. Research that was already underway was quietly shelved. Conference presentations scheduled for upcoming astronomy meetings were cancelled without explanation. The academic community, typically eager to publish findings and claim priority for discoveries, had gone completely silent on what should have been the most important astronomical detection in human history. By early April, the pattern was undeniable. Every institution with the equipment and expertise to properly analyze the signal had either stopped observing, stopped publishing, or stopped responding to inquiries. Meanwhile, the signal continued broadcasting with perfect consistency, growing stronger in ways that suggested either the source was amplifying its output or something about the transmission was changing. The coordination of silence across international borders and competing research institutions pointed toward government involvement at the highest levels, turning what should have been humanity's greatest scientific moment into its most closely guarded secret. By mid-April 2025, independent researchers analyzing amateur recordings of the signal made a breakthrough that changed everything. The prime number sequence everyone had focused on was only the surface layer. Beneath the obvious pattern lay a secondary encoding that revealed itself only through sophisticated signal processing techniques. When researchers applied frequency analysis to the spaces between the prime pulses, they discovered minute variations in timing that carried additional information. These weren't random fluctuations. They were deliberate modulations encoding mathematical constants with precision that exceeded human measurement capabilities. The first constant to emerge was the fine structure constant, a dimensionless number approximately equal to 1 divided by 137. This constant describes the strength of electromagnetic interaction between charged particles and appears throughout quantum physics. It has no units, making it truly universal, independent of whatever measurement system a civilization might use. The signal encoded this value to 15 decimal places, far beyond what natural processes could produce, and matching the most precise measurements human physicists had achieved only in the past decade. Next came the ratio of the proton mass to the electron mass, approximately 1,836 to 1. Again, the encoding showed precision to 12 decimal places. Then, the gravitational constant appeared, followed by Planck's constant, each embedded in the timing variations with accuracy that demonstrated not just knowledge of physics, but mastery of measurement techniques that rivaled or exceeded our own capabilities. What made this discovery particularly unsettling was the choice of constants. These weren't arbitrary numbers. They represented fundamental properties of our universe that any technological civilization would eventually discover through scientific investigation. By encoding them in a message, the senders were establishing a common language based on physics itself. They were saying, "We understand the same universe you do. We've measured it as carefully as you have, and we want you to know we're capable of this level of precision." The encoding method itself revealed sophisticated understanding of information theory. The signal used what communication engineers call error correction coding, a technique that allows data to survive transmission through noisy channels. This meant whoever sent the message anticipated it would travel through interstellar space, encountering interference from plasma clouds, dust, and radiation, yet still needed to arrive intact and readable. The level of engineering required to maintain signal coherence across 26,000 light-years suggested computational and technological capabilities far beyond current human achievement. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. Hidden within the physical constants was a meta-message about the nature of the encoding itself. The fine structure constant appeared first, and its position in the sequence, combined with the modulation frequency used to encode it, created a mathematical key. This key, when applied to the subsequent data, revealed that the entire signal was structured in layers, each requiring the previous layer's information to decode. It was a deliberate puzzle, designed to ensure that only recipients with sufficient technological development could unpack the full message. Researchers working independently across different continents arrived at the same conclusions within days of each other. The mathematics was unambiguous. Forums dedicated to signal analysis filled with verification calculations and independent confirmations. The encoding was real, intentional, and far more complex than the initial prime number sequence suggested. What started as a simple attention-getting pattern had revealed itself as a sophisticated, multi-layered transmission designed to test the recipient's mathematical and technological capabilities. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just first contact. It was an examination. Whoever sent this signal wasn't simply announcing their existence. They were evaluating whether humanity possessed the scientific knowledge and technical skills necessary to receive and understand a more complex message. The physical constants served as both greeting and test, establishing that the senders knew we would recognize these values, while simultaneously requiring us to demonstrate signal processing capabilities advanced enough to extract them from the carrier wave. On April 23, 2025, a team of independent signal analysts made a discovery that would leak onto the internet within hours, despite attempts to suppress it. After weeks of processing the signal's encoded mathematical constants, they applied those values as decoding parameters to the raw transmission data. What emerged was a bitmap image, a picture hidden within what had appeared to be random noise between the prime number pulses. The image was crude by modern standards, only 64 pixels by 64 pixels, but its content was unmistakable and deeply unsettling. The image showed a star map, not just any star map, but a precise representation of our local galactic neighborhood with one star prominently marked by a circle. That star was Sol, our sun. Surrounding it were dozens of other stars plotted in three-dimensional space using a coordinate system based on pulsar timing, the same method humans had used on the Pioneer plaques launched in the 1970s. The senders weren't just showing us a map, they were showing us that they knew exactly where we were, and using our own navigation techniques to prove it. The resolution wasn't high enough to show planets, but the inclusion of our sun's position with such specificity eliminated any possibility of coincidence. Out of 400 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy, the image highlighted ours. The coordinate system used distances measured in light years and orientations based on millisecond pulsars, celestial objects whose rotation periods are so stable they function as cosmic clocks. The map's accuracy suggested the senders had either observed our region of space in extraordinary detail, or had access to information about pulsar positions that matched data collected by human astronomers over decades. Below the star map, a second section of the image contained what appeared to be a date and time stamp. The encoding used base 10 mathematics, suggesting the senders either knew humans used decimal systems, or chose it as a universal standard any mathematical civilization would recognize. When converted using the time units defined by the signal's own repetition rate, the timestamp pointed to a specific date, December 21st, 2025, at 14 hours, 47 minutes, universal time, the winter solstice, just 8 months away. This temporal marker transformed the entire message from a simple greeting into something far more urgent. The signal wasn't just announcing the sender's existence, it was scheduling something. Whether that something represented an arrival, an alignment, a response deadline, or some other event remained unclear. But the specificity of the timestamp implied precision planning and intent. Something was meant to happen on that exact date, and whoever sent this message wanted humanity to know about it in advance. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. The image's transmission technique revealed that the senders understood human digital image formats. The 64 by 64 pixel grid matched early computer display resolutions from the 1970s and 80s, as if the message had been designed to be decodable by civilizations at roughly our technological level. This suggested either remarkable coincidence or deliberate targeting, that whoever created this transmission knew approximately how advanced human technology had become and structured their message accordingly. Analysis of the bitmap's encoding showed additional layers of sophistication. The image wasn't sent as a single burst, but reconstructed from data distributed throughout multiple repetitions of the signal. Error correction codes ensured that even if portions of the transmission were lost or corrupted during the 26,000-year journey through space, the image could still be recovered. This redundancy demonstrated both advanced communication engineering and commitment to ensuring the message survived intact. Within hours of the image's discovery, screenshots appeared on social media, despite no official confirmation from any astronomical institution. The leak was impossible to contain. Millions of people worldwide suddenly stared at proof that something intelligent knew Earth's location and had marked a date less than a year away. The silence from official sources became even more deafening as the December deadline loomed in everyone's minds. On May 2nd, 2025, a whistleblower working at a deep space network facility in Goldstone, California, posted encrypted documents to multiple secure channels online. The files, once decrypted, revealed something that governments had desperately tried to keep hidden. Someone had already responded to the signal from Sagittarius, and they had done so within 36 hours of its initial detection. The response wasn't authorized by any civilian scientific organization, wasn't debated by international committees, and wasn't approved through any public process. It came from a classified military communications array that most people didn't know existed. The leaked documents showed transmission logs from March 16th, 2025, just 2 days after the signal was first detected. The facility used was officially listed as a satellite tracking station, but the power output recorded in the logs exceeded anything needed for Earth orbit communications by several orders of magnitude. The transmission lasted 43 minutes and was directed precisely toward the coordinates in Sagittarius, where the original signal originated. The frequency matched the 21-centimeter hydrogen line, the same wavelength the incoming signal used. What made this revelation particularly disturbing was the timeline. The signal had been detected on March 14th. By March 16th, someone had not only confirmed it was genuine, but had composed a response, obtained approval through whatever chain of command authorized such decisions, and transmitted it into space. That speed suggested either remarkable efficiency or pre-existing protocols for exactly this scenario. The existence of such protocols implied governments had been preparing for this possibility far longer than anyone realized. The contents of the response remained classified in the leaked documents. Entire sections were redacted, showing only technical parameters like frequency, duration, and power output. But transmission characteristics revealed the response wasn't a simple binary message. The modulation patterns indicated complex data encoding, suggesting whoever composed the reply had sent substantial information, rather than a basic acknowledgement. The sophistication of the transmission matched or exceeded the incoming signal's technical complexity. Analysis of the facility's location and capabilities raised additional questions. The Goldstone Deep Space Network Station was part of NASA's infrastructure for communicating with distant spacecraft, but it also had connections to Department of Defense programs that remained officially unacknowledged. The specific antenna array used for the response transmission appeared in no public documentation, suggesting it was built for purposes never disclosed to civilian oversight. Its specifications, partially visible in the leaked files, indicated it was designed for interstellar rather than interplanetary communication. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. The transmission timing corresponded exactly with a period when multiple major observatories had gone offline or were redirected to other targets. It was as if someone had orchestrated a blackout of civilian observation capabilities to prevent independent detection of the outgoing response. Amateur radio enthusiasts who might have noticed the transmission were effectively blinded by the signal's tight beaming and the choice of transmission window during a period of high solar radio noise. International reaction to the leak was swift and coordinated in its silence. No government confirmed or denied the document's authenticity. No official spokesperson addressed questions about who authorized the response or what it contained. The whistleblower who posted the files disappeared from online activity within 72 hours. Their social media accounts were deleted, their encrypted messaging contacts went dark, and attempts to reach them through known associates failed completely. The implications were staggering. Humanity's first contact with extraterrestrial intelligence had been met with an immediate response from military and intelligence apparatus, not scientific institutions. Whatever was said in that reply would travel through space at light speed, taking 26,000 years to reach its destination. But if the original signal had used technology beyond our understanding of physics, if faster-than-light communication was involved, the response might already have been received. And whatever countdown had begun with that reply, humanity had no say in it. To understand why the unauthorized response to the Sagittarius signal terrified many scientists, you need to understand a concept proposed by Chinese science fiction author Liu Cixin in his novel The Dark Forest, published in 2008. The hypothesis offers a chilling solution to the Fermi paradox, the question of why we haven't detected alien civilizations, despite the universe being billions of years old, with billions of potentially habitable planets. Liu's answer is simple and terrifying. Civilizations stay silent because announcing your presence in the universe is suicidal. The logic works like this. Imagine the universe as a dark forest at night. Every civilization is a hunter moving quietly through the trees, and every other civilization as another armed hunter in the darkness. You don't know if other hunters are friendly or hostile. You don't know their capabilities, their resources, or their intentions. The only certainty is that resources are finite, and survival depends on not being found. When you detect another hunter, you face an impossible calculation. Do you reveal yourself and risk attack? Do you attack first to eliminate a potential threat? Or do you stay absolutely silent and hope they haven't noticed you? The hypothesis suggests that rational civilizations choose silence. The risk of contact with a hostile or merely indifferent advanced civilization outweighs any potential benefits of communication. If a civilization is more advanced than yours, they might view you as a threat to eliminate before you become powerful enough to challenge them. If they're less advanced, you might need to eliminate them before they advance beyond your ability to control. Either way, the safest strategy is to hide, listen, and never broadcast your location. This explains the Fermi paradox perfectly. The galaxy might be teeming with intelligent life, but everyone is hiding. The civilizations that weren't careful, that broadcast their presence too loudly or too early, were eliminated by others, following the same brutal calculus of cosmic survival. What remains is a galaxy of silent watchers, each civilization hoping desperately not to be noticed, while watching for others to make fatal mistakes. The signal from Sagittarius violated every principle of the dark forest hypothesis. Something 26,000 light-years away was broadcasting with enough power to be heard across significant portions of the galaxy. Either the senders were incredibly foolish, announcing their presence without concern for consequences, or they were so powerful that they didn't fear retaliation. Neither possibility was comforting. A foolish civilization wouldn't have the technology to send such a sophisticated signal. A civilization powerful enough to broadcast without fear represented something far more advanced and potentially dangerous than humanity. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. The unauthorized response from Earth might have doomed our civilization by violating the fundamental rule of cosmic survival. By responding, whoever sent that transmission announced humanity's presence, not just to the original senders, but potentially to any other civilization monitoring that region of space. If the dark forest hypothesis is correct, Earth just lit a beacon in the darkness, declaring our location to every hunter in the galaxy. The timing of the original signal raised additional disturbing questions. Why broadcast now? Our radio and television signals have been leaking into space since the early 20th century, creating an expanding bubble of electromagnetic noise centered on Earth. That bubble now extends roughly 120 light-years in all directions. Any civilization within that radius with sensitive enough equipment could detect our existence simply by listening. Perhaps the signal from Sagittarius wasn't a greeting. Perhaps it was a response to our own decades of careless broadcasting, an acknowledgement that we'd already been noticed. Stephen Hawking warned about this exact scenario in 2010. He argued that contact with advanced aliens would be similar to when Native Americans first encountered Columbus. That encounter didn't end well for the natives. Hawking suggested humanity should listen, but never transmit, observing the universe silently while avoiding drawing attention to ourselves. His warning was ignored by those who authorized the response transmission. The December 21 deadline, encoded in the signal, took on new meaning through the dark forest framework. Perhaps it wasn't an invitation. Perhaps it was a countdown. The senders might be giving humanity time to demonstrate whether we pose a threat, to show our technological capabilities, or simply to prepare for whatever comes next. In a dark forest universe, any signal you receive might be your last warning before something arrives to ensure you never become a threat. On November 16, 1974, humanity deliberately announced its presence to the cosmos. The Arecibo radio telescope in Puerto Rico, then the most powerful transmission facility on Earth, broadcast a message toward the globular star cluster, Messier 13, located 25,000 light-years away in the constellation Hercules. The transmission lasted less than 3 minutes, but contained 1,400,000 watts of power focused into a narrow beam. The message included information about human DNA, our solar system structure, the basics of human appearance, and the dimensions of the telescope itself. It was humanity's first serious attempt at intentional interstellar communication. The scientific community treated the Arecibo message as mostly symbolic. Messier 13 contains roughly 300,000 stars, increasing the chances that someone might be listening, but the message wouldn't arrive until the year 26,974, and any response wouldn't return until 51,974. From a practical standpoint, the transmission was more about demonstrating human technological capability and expressing cosmic optimism than expecting actual contact. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. In 2001, exactly 27 years after the Arecibo transmission, a formation appeared in a crop field adjacent to the Chilbolton radio telescope in Hampshire, England. The formation wasn't random. It was a pixel-perfect response to the 1974 message, modified to show different information. Where the original depicted human DNA, the formation showed modified DNA with additional genetic code. Where the original showed Earth's population and human height, the response indicated a different population count and smaller body size. Where the original depicted our solar system, the response showed a different configuration. The formation's complexity exceeded anything previously seen in crop circle phenomena. It contained over 1,600 individual elements arranged in binary code, perfectly replicating the format of the original Arecibo message while changing specific data fields. A second formation appeared nearby, showing what appeared to be a non-human face with large eyes, rendered in the same binary pixel style. The precision of both formations, created overnight in crops with mathematical accuracy, defied easy explanation. Skeptics immediately attributed the formations to human hoaxes, and indeed, sophisticated crop formations had been created by artists using planks and ropes. However, several characteristics of the Chilbolton formations troubled investigators. The bending of crop stems showed anomalies inconsistent with mechanical flattening. Microscopic analysis revealed cellular changes in the plants, suggesting brief, intense heat exposure. Most significantly, the binary encoding showed knowledge of the original Arecibo message format that wasn't widely publicized outside specialist circles in 1974. The timing raised questions that official explanations never adequately addressed. 27 years represents roughly one generation, a meaningful time frame in human terms, but irrelevant for interstellar communication across 25,000 light-years. If the formation was a hoax, why wait precisely 27 years? If it was genuine communication, how did a response arrive 50,000 years ahead of schedule? Other attempts at deliberate messaging followed Arecibo. In 2008, a transmission aimed at the star Gliese 581 was sent from a Ukrainian radio telescope containing 501 messages submitted by the public. In 2017, a message targeting the star GJ 273 was sent from Norway. These transmissions generated little controversy because they targeted individual stars at modest distances where responses wouldn't arrive for decades or centuries. The Sagittarius signal changed everything because it arrived first, unsolicited, from an intelligence that chose to contact us rather than waiting for our invitation. This reversed the entire paradigm. Instead of humanity reaching out into silence, something reached back before we fully understood the implications of cosmic communication. The unauthorized response to this signal repeated the same mistake made at Arecibo, announcing our presence without global consensus or adequate consideration of consequences. The difference between 1974 and 2025 lies in capability and context. The Arecibo message was a shout into what we assumed was empty darkness. The response to Sagittarius was a reply to something already watching, something that demonstrated technology far exceeding our own, something that marked a specific date just months away. The Arecibo scientists could reasonably assume their message would travel harmlessly into space for millennia. Those who authorized the Sagittarius response knew with certainty that something was listening and possibly already on its way. The signal from Sagittarius wasn't the first time humanity thought it had detected extraterrestrial intelligence. Over the past 50 years, several incidents created brief moments of excitement or panic before mundane explanations emerged. Understanding these previous close calls helps explain both the scientific community's caution and why this new signal is fundamentally different from everything that came before. On August 15th, 1977, astronomer Jerry Eman was reviewing data from the Big Ear radio telescope at Ohio State University. When he noticed something so remarkable, he circled it on the printout and wrote a single word in the margin: "Wow." The signal lasted 72 seconds, peaked at intensity 30 times stronger than background noise, and came from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius. It matched exactly what SETI researchers expected an extraterrestrial signal would look like: a narrow band emission at the hydrogen line frequency, carrying no natural explanation. The WOW signal vanished as mysteriously as it appeared. Despite dozens of subsequent observations targeting the same region of sky, the signal never repeated. Theories about its origin ranged from interstellar clouds reflecting Earth transmissions to comets releasing hydrogen-rich gas clouds, though none fully explained all observed characteristics. The signal remained unexplained, but couldn't be confirmed as artificial without repetition. One tantalizing detection across 5 decades of subsequent observation wasn't enough to claim contact. Fast radio bursts discovered in 2007 presented another mystery. These intense pulses of radio energy lasted only milliseconds, but released more energy than the sun produces in days. The first FRB, called the Lorimer burst after its discoverer, seemed to come from billions of light-years away, far beyond our galaxy. Initial speculation suggested artificial origins, perhaps powerful transmitters used by advanced civilizations for interstellar communication or propulsion systems for relativistic spacecraft. As detection technology improved, dozens, then hundreds of FRBs were catalogued. Some repeated, showing patterns that natural astrophysical processes could produce. The scientific consensus shifted toward exotic stellar phenomena like magnetars, neutron stars with magnetic fields trillions of times stronger than Earth's. While still not fully understood, FRBs no longer topped the list of potential artificial signals because their extreme distances and energies made deliberate communication unlikely. More recently, in April 2019, Breakthrough Listen project detected a signal designated BLC-1 coming from the direction of Proxima Centauri, the closest star to our solar system at just over 4 light-years distance. The signal appeared only when telescopes pointed at Proxima and disappeared when they pointed elsewhere, suggesting a genuine source rather than interference. It occupied a narrow frequency band, drifting slowly in ways consistent with transmission from a planet orbiting the star. For months, BLC-1 seemed like the detection everyone had been waiting for. Proxima Centauri was known to host at least 2 planets, one in the habitable zone where liquid water could exist. The signal's characteristics matched theoretical predictions for artificial transmission. Media coverage exploded with speculation about potential first contact with our nearest stellar neighbours. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. After extensive analysis, researchers traced BLC-1 to interference from human technology, likely a malfunctioning electronic device near the telescope, creating signals that mimicked extraterrestrial transmission. The pattern of appearances matched equipment operation schedules rather than celestial mechanics. What seemed like humanity's first confirmed detection of alien intelligence was instead a reminder of how difficult distinguishing artificial from natural signals truly is. These previous incidents established protocols that the current signal shatters completely. The WOW signal never repeated. Fast radio bursts came from incomprehensible distances. BLC-1 proved to be human interference. The Sagittarius signal repeats continuously, maintains perfect consistency, originates from within our galaxy, and carries mathematical encoding that eliminates natural explanations. It embeds physical constants, transmits images, and specifies dates. Most critically, it targeted Earth specifically, compensating for our motion through space with precision that requires real-time adjustment or predictive modeling of our trajectory. Every previous close call taught scientists what false positives looked like. The current signal exhibits none of those characteristics, while demonstrating sophistication that exceeds anything humanity has transmitted into space. This isn't another ambiguous detection requiring years of analysis to debunk. This is exactly what confirmed contact would look like if it ever happened. And that's precisely what makes the institutional silence and unauthorized response so terrifying. By late May 2025, amateur astronomers monitoring the Sagittarius signal began reporting something that shouldn't be physically possible. The signal was getting stronger, not gradually over weeks, but measurably from day to day. Radio telescopes that had barely detected the transmission in March were now receiving it with intensity that required no special equipment or long integration times. Backyard radio enthusiasts with basic dipole antennas were picking up the signal clearly enough to record and analyze it on standard computer software. The increase followed an exponential curve. Signal strength measurements posted to online forums showed intensity doubling approximately every 11 days. This rate of increase made no sense under any conventional physics. The source was 26,000 light-years away, a fixed distance that shouldn't change noticeably across human timescales. Even if something was moving toward Earth at relativistic speeds, a significant fraction of light speed, the distance wouldn't decrease fast enough to account for the observed strengthening. The signal was amplifying through some mechanism that had nothing to do with the source getting physically closer. 2 explanations emerged, neither comforting. Either the transmission source was actively increasing its power output, ramping up energy levels in a deliberate escalation, or the signal was using some form of focusing or beaming technology that was progressively concentrating energy toward Earth's location. Both scenarios required active control and real-time adjustment, suggesting whatever was broadcasting this signal was not only aware of Earth, but actively targeting us with increasing intensity. The mathematics of the power increase were staggering. Extrapolating the exponential curve forward suggested that by the December 21st date encoded in the signal, transmission strength would exceed the total radio output of our entire Sun at the 21 centimeter wavelength. Creating such a signal would require harnessing energy on a scale that placed the civilization responsible firmly at Kardashev Type 2, capable of utilizing the entire energy output of their star. This wasn't a modest beacon. This was a civilization announcing its presence with a display of power that exceeded human capabilities by factors of billions. Radio interference began affecting terrestrial communications by early June. Satellite navigation systems experienced periodic degradation when the Sagittarius region was above the horizon. Amateur radio operators reported unusual noise on frequencies adjacent to the 21 centimeter band. Deep space communication with interplanetary probes became increasingly difficult as the signal bled across wider portions of the radio spectrum. The strengthening wasn't just an astronomical curiosity anymore. It was beginning to impact human technology in measurable ways. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. The signal's amplification appeared coordinated with Earth's position in its orbit around the Sun. As Earth moved through space, the signal strength adjustments compensated for our changing velocity and direction, maintaining perfect frequency lock despite the Doppler shifts that should have caused frequency drift. This real-time tracking required either faster-than-light communication to adjust the transmission instantly for our position, or predictive modeling of Earth's orbit, accurate enough to pre-program frequency corrections 26,000 years in advance. Neither possibility fit within understood physics. Ground-based radio astronomy became increasingly difficult as the signal overwhelmed other observations. Research programs targeting distant galaxies or searching for faint cosmic phenomena found their data contaminated by the Sagittarius transmission. The signal wasn't just strong, it was deliberately chosen to occupy the hydrogen line frequency that radio astronomers considered most important for studying the universe. It was as if whoever sent it wanted to make sure they couldn't be ignored, that every radio telescope on Earth would be forced to acknowledge their presence, whether researchers wanted to or not. Predictions based on the exponential strengthening curve suggested a threshold would be crossed in October 2025. At that point, the signal would become strong enough to be detected by unmodified commercial radio receivers, the kind found in cars and homes. What had been a scientific mystery confined to specialized equipment and online forums would become undeniable public knowledge. The December deadline was approaching, and with it came a signal growing louder each day, announcing something that either didn't care about being noticed or actively wanted humanity to know it was coming. On June 8th, 2025, radio astronomers monitoring the Sagittarius signal discovered something that transformed the entire situation from mysterious to alarming. The primary transmission on the hydrogen line frequency wasn't alone. Secondary signals had appeared on multiple wavelengths across the radio spectrum, each carrying similar mathematical encoding, but originating from different locations in space. What had seemed like a single transmission from a distant civilization revealed itself as a coordinated network spanning significant portions of the galaxy. The first secondary signal was detected at a frequency of 1420 MHz, another protected radio astronomy band. Triangulation using multiple Earth-based observatories determined its origin point at approximately 8,000 light-years away in the constellation Cygnus. The signal exhibited the same prime number sequence and physical constant encoding as the Sagittarius transmission, but with subtle differences in timing that suggested coordination rather than simple repetition. The two signals weren't copies. They were components of a larger communication system. Within 72 hours, 3 more secondary frequencies were identified. One originated from the direction of the Perseus arm of our galaxy, roughly 15,000 light-years distant. Another came from coordinates near the Orion Spur where our solar system resides, only 3,000 light-years away. The third appeared to originate from somewhere within a few hundred light-years, close enough that the signal's power requirements dropped to levels that a Kardashev Type 1 civilization might achieve. The pattern was unmistakable. Multiple transmission sources at varying distances were operating in concert, creating a network that surrounded Earth's position in the galaxy. Triangulation analysis revealed the geometry of this network. The transmission sources formed a rough sphere with Earth near its center. The spacing between sources suggested deliberate positioning rather than random distribution. It was as if listening posts or relay stations had been established at strategic locations throughout our region of the Milky Way, all now broadcasting simultaneously toward our solar system. The implications were staggering. This wasn't first contact. This was evidence of infrastructure, a communication network that had been in place long before humanity developed radio technology. The timing of these secondary signals raised deeply unsettling questions. Light and radio waves from the nearest source at 300 light-years distance would have taken 3 centuries to reach Earth, meaning that transmission would have begun in the early 1700s, well before humans invented radio. Yet all secondary signals activated within the same few weeks as the primary Sagittarius transmission, suggesting either faster than light communication coordinating the network, or an activation sequence pre-programmed hundreds or thousands of years ago in anticipation of this exact moment. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. Analysis of the signal propagation showed anomalies that violated known physics. The secondary signals didn't exhibit the inverse square law, weakening expected from radio sources at their indicated distances. All signals, regardless of source distance, arrived at Earth with similar intensity after accounting for the deliberate power ramping observed across all frequencies. This uniform strength suggested either impossible transmission power from the closer sources or some form of signal amplification occurring between the source and Earth. The network's architecture implied a relay system. Each source might not be transmitting directly to Earth, but rather forwarding messages through intermediate stations, creating a galactic communication infrastructure analogous to Earth's internet backbone. The existence of such a network raised profound questions about how long it had been operating and whether other civilizations were already connected to it. Perhaps humanity wasn't receiving first contact, but an invitation to join a communication system that had existed for millennia or longer. frequency analysis revealed that each secondary signal carried unique data in addition to the common mathematical encoding. While the primary Sagittarius transmission contained the star map and December deadline, the secondary signals embedded different information that researchers were still working to decode. Early analysis suggested astronomical data, possibly coordinates for additional locations or objects of interest within our stellar neighborhood. The sheer volume of information being transmitted exceeded anything a single message could contain, requiring the parallel transmission across multiple frequencies to deliver the complete dataset. By late June, amateur radio operators worldwide were tracking all 5 known signals simultaneously, creating detailed logs of their behavior and looking for additional hidden transmissions. The signal landscape had transformed from a single mysterious broadcast to a complex multi-source phenomenon that suggested preparation, planning, and infrastructure on a galactic scale. Whatever was coming in December wasn't a simple visit. It was the culmination of something vast that had been positioned around humanity long before we knew to look for it. Converting radio signals to audio frequencies is a standard technique astronomers use to analyze patterns that might be difficult to detect visually. When researchers applied this process to the Sagittarius signal in mid-June 2025, what emerged was a sound that millions of people would soon describe as the most unsettling thing they'd ever heard. The audio file leaked online within hours of its creation, and within days it had been downloaded over 50 million times, despite warnings from multiple governments asking people not to listen to it. The basic rhythm matched the prime number sequence everyone had expected. 2 beats, 3 beats, 5 beats, 7 beats, creating a pattern that sounded mechanical and deliberate. But beneath this obvious structure was something else entirely. When the audio was slowed down and frequency filtered to isolate different components, underlying tones emerged that hadn't been apparent in the raw data. These weren't random noise. They were complex harmonics that created an almost musical quality, as if the signal had been composed rather than simply transmitted. The tempo of the converted audio was unsettling in itself. At standard playback speed, the pattern repeated approximately every 47 seconds, a rate that created a sense of urgency without being frantic. Some listeners reported that the rhythm matched closely to a resting human heart rate, between 60 and 70 beats per minute, though this was likely coincidence. Others noted that extended listening created a hypnotic effect, the mathematical precision of the pattern inducing a trance-like state that made it difficult to stop listening once started. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. Embedded within the carrier wave, detectable only through sophisticated signal processing, were modulations that, when converted to audio, sounded remarkably like vocalization, not words in any human language, but tone patterns that resembled speech rhythm and cadence. The modulations rose and fell with inflections similar to questions and statements, paused in patterns resembling sentence breaks, and exhibited emphasis structures comparable to spoken communication. Whether this represented actual attempted speech or was simply pattern seeking by human brains trying to find meaning in abstract sounds remained hotly debated. Linguistic analysis of these voice-like patterns revealed statistical properties consistent with natural language. The frequency distribution of different tone patterns followed Zipf's law, a mathematical relationship found in all human languages, where the most common words appear twice as often as the second most common, 3 times as often as the third most common, and so on. Finding this pattern in the signal's modulations suggested either deliberate mimicry of language structure or genuine communication, using principles universal to information-dense vocalization. The psychological impact of the audio became a concern by early July. Online forums filled with reports from people who had listened to extended loops of the signal experiencing sleep disturbances, vivid dreams featuring the rhythm and persistent mental replay of the pattern even when not actively listening. Some described it as an earworm that couldn't be dislodged, the mathematical precision of the sequence making it impossible to forget. Mental health professionals began warning against extended exposure, though the mechanism by which pure audio pattern could affect cognition remained unclear. Spectrographic analysis revealed additional hidden layers. When the audio was visualized as a frequency time diagram, geometric patterns emerged that weren't apparent when listening. The voice-like modulations, when viewed rather than heard, showed symmetries and repetitions suggesting intentional structure. Researchers noted similarities to whale songs and other animal communications, where information was encoded across both time and frequency dimensions simultaneously, maximizing information density within the available bandwidth. Analysis software designed to detect patterns in the audio identified what appeared to be counting sequences embedded within the voice-like modulations. After establishing communication through prime numbers, the signal seemed to be teaching a numerical system, starting with simple concepts and building toward more complex mathematical operations. This pedagogical approach matched theoretical frameworks for establishing communication with alien intelligence, starting with universal concepts and gradually introducing more sophisticated ideas once common ground was established. By late July, the converted audio had become unavoidable. It played in news broadcasts analyzing the signal, featured in social media posts discussing the phenomenon, and was even incorporated into music remixes that went viral. The sound of first contact had become the soundtrack to humanity's summer of 2025, a constant reminder that something was counting down toward December, and that whatever was coming had chosen to announce itself with a voice that seemed simultaneously mechanical and alive, mathematical and musical, familiar and utterly alien. On July 18th, 2025, the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency closed session that wasn't officially announced until 3 hours after it began. The meeting lasted 14 hours straight, running through the night at UN headquarters in New York, while diplomats from permanent and rotating member nations debated humanity's response to a situation that had no historical precedent. Leaked audio from the session, released anonymously 2 days later, revealed a level of disagreement and panic among world powers that contradicted the carefully crafted public statements about international cooperation and scientific inquiry. The leaked recording opened with the Secretary General outlining what was known about the Sagittarius signal, the secondary frequency network, and the December 21st deadline now less than 5 months away. The presentation included classified analysis from multiple national intelligence agencies confirming that the signals were artificial, that their strengthening was deliberate, and that all evidence pointed towards some form of contact or arrival on the specified date. The tone was measured, but the implications were clear. Governments had been hiding the full scope of the phenomenon, while secretly preparing for scenarios ranging from peaceful contact to existential threat. The United States delegation argued for a unified response protocol, emphasizing caution and defensive preparedness. Their position held that humanity should not send additional messages beyond the unauthorized March transmission, should accelerate space-based defense programs under the guise of asteroid deflection research, and should prepare continuity of government plans in case the December event proved hostile. The delegation presented classified satellite data showing unusual activity at military installations worldwide, suggesting other nations were already preparing for worst-case scenarios regardless of public diplomatic positions. China's representative countered with a fundamentally different philosophy. Their position emphasized that attempting to hide from or defend against a civilization demonstrating Kardashev Type 2 capabilities was futile. Instead, China proposed immediate preparation for integration into whatever galactic community the signals represented, arguing that cooperation offered better survival odds than confrontation. The delegation revealed that Chinese scientists had been composing a comprehensive response message containing detailed information about human civilization, ready for transmission pending Security Council approval. Russia's position fell somewhere between these extremes, but introduced a disturbing new element. Their delegation presented evidence that the March response transmission had contained more than simple acknowledgement. According to Russian intelligence, the unauthorized message included military capabilities data, nuclear arsenal information, and strategic infrastructure locations. If accurate, this meant whoever sent that reply had provided potential adversaries with a comprehensive targeting package for Earth's defenses. The Russian delegation demanded investigation into who authorized such disclosure, and suggested the response might have been deliberately sabotaged by elements wanting to ensure humanity couldn't mount effective resistance. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. The leaked audio contained a heated exchange where the French delegation revealed that European Space Agency satellites had detected anomalous objects entering the solar system from the direction of the galactic center. The objects were small, moving at significant fractions of light speed, and appeared to be decelerating in ways that suggested powered flight rather than ballistic trajectories. This information hadn't been shared with the broader international community, and its revelation during the Security Council session created immediate accusations of intelligence hoarding and treaty violations. The debate over response protocols consumed most of the session. The United Kingdom argued for radio silence until more was known about the sender's intentions. Brazil proposed creating an international commission of scientists and philosophers to draft a comprehensive message representing all of humanity. India suggested that any response should emphasize human cultural and spiritual diversity to demonstrate civilization worth preserving. Each position reflected different assumptions about what the signals meant and what kind of first contact humanity should prepare for. Voting on proposed actions revealed deep fractures in the international order. A resolution to prohibit additional transmissions without unanimous Security Council approval passed, but only after heated debate and with China and Russia abstaining. A proposal to share all classified signal intelligence among member nations failed when permanent members refused to disclose sources and methods. An emergency funding mechanism for defensive space infrastructure passed narrowly, with several nations arguing it would appear hostile and potentially provoke exactly the confrontation it aimed to prevent. The session concluded with no clear consensus beyond agreement that the situation was unprecedented and that December 21st would likely represent a turning point in human history. The leaked audio ended with an unidentified voice stating what everyone was thinking, but few wanted to say aloud. We're preparing for something we don't understand, can't prevent, and have no idea how to handle. The only certainty is that in 5 months, we'll know whether first contact means salvation or extinction. While governments debated protocols in closed sessions, Silicon Valley's tech billionaires were taking matters into their own hands. In late July 2025, investigative journalists uncovered a network of privately funded facilities that had been constructed with extraordinary speed over the previous 4 months. These weren't standard corporate research centers. They were sophisticated radio transmission arrays built specifically for deep space communication, erected on private land beyond the jurisdiction of telecommunications regulations that governed public broadcasting. The most prominent facility belonged to a consortium of tech companies, led by figures who had made their fortunes in social media, electric vehicles, and space transportation. Located in the remote Nevada desert on property purchased through shell corporations, the array consisted of 47 dish antennas arranged in a phased configuration, capable of focusing transmission power toward specific celestial coordinates. Construction had begun in April, just weeks after the Sagittarius signal's detection, suggesting the project was initiated the moment the transmission's artificial nature became undeniable. Financial records leaked by anonymous sources within these companies revealed staggering investment levels. Over $3 billion had been funneled into what internal documents called Project Lighthouse, diverted from various corporate budgets through accounting structures designed to obscure the true purpose. The funding covered not just antenna construction, but also supercomputing infrastructure for message composition, cryptographic systems for encoding transmissions, and legal teams preparing to defend against inevitable government intervention. On August 2nd, 2025, the Nevada facility transmitted its first message toward the Sagittarius coordinates. The broadcast lasted 17 minutes and contained what Project Lighthouse organizers described as a comprehensive introduction to human civilization. Unlike the sparse technical message from Arecibo in 1974, this transmission included digitally encoded images, audio recordings of music from diverse cultures, mathematical and scientific knowledge, and detailed information about Earth's biosphere and technological development. The message was repeated 3 times to ensure error correction, and then the facility went silent. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. Less than 24 hours after the transmission, all 5 known signal sources, the primary Sagittarius transmission, and the 4 secondary frequencies, simultaneously changed their modulation patterns. The alteration was subtle but unmistakable to researchers monitoring the signals. The prime number sequence remained, but the underlying harmonics shifted, and the voice-like patterns embedded in the carrier wave increased in complexity. It was as if the transmission network had received the Nevada message and was responding, not with new content, but with acknowledgement that communication had been received and understood. This apparent response time of under 1 day for a signal targeting sources thousands of light years away defied physics entirely. Radio waves travel at light speed, meaning even the nearest secondary source at 300 light-years distance required 3 centuries for signals to travel each direction. A response within hours required either faster-than-light communication or the existence of relay infrastructure much closer to Earth than any of the identified transmission sources. Both possibilities suggested technology and presence far beyond what was officially acknowledged. The Federal Communications Commission and its international equivalents immediately moved to shut down Project Lighthouse and similar facilities that had been identified in Australia, Chile, and South Africa. Legal battles erupted as the Tech Consortium argued that international treaties governing extraterrestrial contact, signed in the 1960s and 70s, didn't explicitly prohibit private communication attempts, and that First Amendment protections covered transmission of information into space. Courts issued temporary injunctions, but enforcement proved difficult when facilities could transmit gigawatts of focused radio energy toward target coordinates in minutes before authorities could intervene. Social media platforms, owned by the same tech figures involved in Project Lighthouse, became battlegrounds for competing philosophies about first contact. One faction, calling themselves the Welcoming Committee, argued that humanity should embrace contact enthusiastically and provide whoever was listening with comprehensive information about human civilization. They organized crowdsourced message campaigns, collecting millions of individual messages, images, and video recordings to be compiled into a massive transmission, representing as much of humanity's diversity as possible. The opposing faction, adopting the name Silent Protocol, argued that unauthorized transmissions endangered all humanity by removing any possibility of strategic ambiguity about Earth's capabilities and intentions. They pointed to the dark forest hypothesis and historical examples of what happened when less advanced civilizations encountered more technologically sophisticated ones. Their campaigns focused on shutting down private transmission facilities and prosecuting those who had already broadcast messages without global consensus. By mid-August, at least 7 major unauthorized transmissions had been sent from private facilities on 4 continents. Each message was different, representing various groups' visions of how humanity should present itself to potential alien contact. The question was no longer whether humanity would respond to the signals, but whether the chaotic, contradictory chorus of responses had already sealed whatever fate December would bring. On August 15th, 2025, the Vatican released an official statement that would reshape theological discourse for generations. The document, titled On the Plurality of Worlds and the Divine Plan, acknowledged that intelligent extraterrestrial life posed no contradiction to Catholic theology, and that the potential for contact with alien civilizations had been discussed within church circles since at least the 13th century. The statement went further, suggesting that the Sagittarius signal might represent what the document called a moment of cosmic revelation, where humanity's understanding of creation would necessarily expand to encompass realities previously considered only in abstract theological terms. The Vatican's position emphasized that if God created the universe with its billions of galaxies, each containing billions of stars, it would be presumptuous to assume Earth held the only beings capable of knowing their Creator. The statement drew on writings from theologians like Thomas Aquinas, who had argued that diversity in creation reflected divine abundance. If intelligent life existed elsewhere, the document proposed, it would be part of the same divine creation as humanity, potentially following different paths to spiritual understanding, but ultimately connected through shared origin in the same creative act. Other religious traditions responded with their own frameworks for understanding potential contact. Islamic scholars pointed to Quranic verses, suggesting that Allah created life throughout the heavens and that humanity would one day meet these other beings. The specific verse stating that among his signs is the creation of the heavens and the earth, and whatever he has dispersed throughout them of creatures, was cited as theological preparation for exactly this scenario. Debates emerged within Islamic communities about whether alien intelligences would have received their own prophets and revelations, or whether divine guidance took entirely different forms for non-human civilizations. Buddhist and Hindu traditions approached the question from perspectives already comfortable with vast cosmic scales and multiple inhabited worlds. Buddhist cosmology had long described countless world systems throughout space and time, each potentially hosting conscious beings working toward enlightenment. Hindu philosophy's concept of infinite universes and cyclic time made alien intelligence almost expected rather than shocking. Spiritual leaders from these traditions suggested that contact might help humanity overcome its provincial perspective and recognize its place within a vastly larger cosmic community. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. The philosophical implications reached beyond religious frameworks into fundamental questions about human identity and purpose. If intelligence and consciousness weren't unique to Earth, what did that mean for humanity's self-conception as the pinnacle of creation or evolution? The Copernican revolution had removed Earth from the center of the solar system. Darwin had connected humanity to the biological continuum of life on our planet. Now, the Sagittarius signal threatened to complete the process, revealing humanity as one intelligence among potentially millions scattered throughout the galaxy. Philosophers debated whether contact would trigger existential crisis or liberation. One school argued that discovering humanity wasn't alone would devastate psychological foundations built on assumptions of cosmic significance. Religions might collapse, social structures could fragment, and individuals might experience profound meaninglessness upon learning that human history, culture, and achievement were infinitesimally small in the context of galactic civilization. Depression and anxiety rates had already increased significantly since the signal's detection, suggesting this existential impact was already beginning. The opposing view held that contact offered opportunity for growth beyond parochial concerns. Humanity had always been divided by nation, religion, ethnicity, and ideology. Faced with genuinely alien intelligence, these divisions might seem trivial. Contact could forge global unity based on shared human identity and common planetary origin. It might provide perspective, showing that whatever differences divided humans were minor compared to the gulf separating Earth's biology and culture from truly alien forms of life and thought. Bioethics committees worldwide began examining how humanity should prepare for potential contact with non-human intelligence. If aliens arrived or communication was established, would they have rights? Would killing an alien be murder? Would deceiving them be fraud? human legal systems were built around human cognition and human social structures. Extending these frameworks to beings with potentially incomprehensible psychology, biology, and social organization raised questions for which centuries of jurisprudence provided no guidance. Universities hastily organized conferences and seminars addressing these questions, drawing from theology, philosophy, anthropology, psychology, and law. Yet all theoretical preparation felt inadequate. Humanity was attempting to prepare for contact with no data about what form that contact would take, what the visitors might want, or even whether the concepts of want, purpose, or intention applied to intelligences that might be as different from humans as humans are from bacteria. By September, one thing had become clear. Whether humanity was philosophically or theologically ready or not, December 21st was coming, and with it would come answers to questions humans had pondered since first looking up at the night sky and wondering if we were alone. By September 2025, enough data had been collected about the Sagittarius signal network to begin constructing a profile of whoever built it. The analysis revealed a civilization operating on scales that dwarfed human capabilities, while demonstrating sophistication that suggested millions of years of technological development beyond our current level. Every characteristic of the transmission system pointed toward an intelligence that viewed interstellar distances the way humans viewed planetary ones, as inconvenient but manageable barriers to communication and infrastructure deployment. The energy requirements provided the most fundamental constraint on understanding the builders. Maintaining the primary Sagittarius transmission at current power levels required capturing and focusing energy equivalent to approximately 0.01% of a star's total output. This placed the civilization firmly at Kardashev Type 2, the classification describing societies that harness stellar-scale energy. For comparison, human civilization currently ranks at approximately Kardashev Type 0.7, still dependent on planetary energy sources like fossil fuels and beginning to tap renewable flows. The gap represented not decades or centuries of development, but potentially millennia or longer. The transmission technology itself revealed engineering principles beyond current human understanding. The signal maintained coherence across 26,000 light-years of travel through interstellar space filled with dust, plasma, and magnetic fields that should scatter and distort any signal. Yet the transmission arrived at Earth with pristine clarity, its mathematical encoding intact down to precision, exceeding the best error correction codes human engineers had devised. This suggested either shielding technology that protected the signal during transit, or the use of communication channels that bypassed normal electromagnetic propagation entirely. The network architecture demonstrated planning across galactic timescales. The secondary transmission sources positioned throughout our region of space couldn't have been deployed recently. Even traveling at significant fractions of light speed, establishing infrastructure at locations thousands of light-years apart would require millennia of sustained effort. This meant the network was ancient, constructed long before humans developed radio technology, and possibly before humans existed as a species. The civilization responsible thought in terms of million-year projects, deploying infrastructure that would only become relevant to distant civilizations after epochs of time. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. The signal's pedagogical structure revealed something unexpected about the builders' psychology and intentions. The transmission didn't simply broadcast information. It taught, starting with universal concepts like prime numbers and physical constants, then building systematically toward more complex ideas. This educational approach suggested the builders expected recipients to be less advanced, that they were deliberately structuring their message for comprehension by civilizations still developing their technological and scientific understanding. This teaching methodology implied patience and perhaps benevolence. A civilization intent on conquest or exploitation wouldn't need to educate its targets. The careful progression from simple to complex concepts suggested the builders wanted recipients to understand not just the existence of the signal, but its deeper content. They were investing significant energy and time in ensuring their message could be decoded and comprehended by species potentially millions of years behind them technologically. Analysis of the embedded mathematical constants revealed the builders understood physics at levels human science hadn't achieved. Some encoded values corresponded to predictions from unified field theories that remained unproven by human experiments. The signal contained what appeared to be corrections to human understanding of cosmological constants, suggesting the builders had measured the universe's fundamental properties with precision, exceeding our best instruments by orders of magnitude. They weren't just demonstrating knowledge humans already possessed. They were showing what lay beyond current human understanding, the real-time frequency compensation that kept the signal locked to Earth's motion, despite our planet's complex trajectory through space, revealed perhaps the most unsettling capability. This required either monitoring Earth's position continuously across 26,000 light-years, or predictive modeling, accurate enough to calculate our location millennia in advance. The former implied observation technology capable of tracking individual planets across galactic distances. The latter suggested computational power and physical understanding, allowing precise simulation of gravitational dynamics across cosmic timescales. The civilization profile that emerged from this analysis was both encouraging and terrifying. The builders were patient, methodical, and apparently interested in communication, rather than immediate conquest. They possessed technology that made human capabilities seem primitive by comparison, but chose to reach out rather than simply taking what they wanted. Yet this same analysis revealed a civilization capable of monitoring humanity across impossible distances, deploying infrastructure throughout our stellar neighborhood, and maintaining projects across timeframes that exceeded human civilization's entire history. Whatever their intentions, peaceful or otherwise, humanity had no ability to resist if those intentions proved hostile. The December deadline encoded in their message would reveal whether the signal represented invitation or ultimatum, greeting or warning, salvation or something humanity had no framework to comprehend. The Sagittarius signal originated from 26,000 light-years away, a distance so vast it challenges human comprehension. Light traveling at 300,000 kilometers per second, the fastest speed possible according to Einstein's relativity, takes 26,000 years to cross that gulf. This creates a fundamental problem that undermines every conventional explanation for the signal's behavior. If the transmission followed normal physics, it was sent before humans invented agriculture, before the pyramids were built, before written language existed. Yet the signal appears to respond to events happening now, in real time, as if the distance meant nothing. The unauthorized response transmission from Earth in March 2025 provides the clearest example of this impossibility. That message, traveling at light speed, wouldn't reach the Sagittarius source for 26,000 years. Any reply following the same physics wouldn't return to Earth for another 26,000 years, arriving in the year 54,025. Yet, within 24 hours of various private transmissions from Project Lighthouse and similar facilities, the signal network's modulation patterns changed in ways that appeared to acknowledge those messages. The timing makes no sense under known physics. 3 explanations exist for this distance problem, each with profound implications. The first, and most conservative, suggests the signal network includes relay stations much closer to Earth than the identified transmission sources. Perhaps infrastructure exists within our solar system or nearby star systems, positioned to monitor Earth and coordinate with the distant primary sources. This would explain rapid response times while requiring only conventional physics, though it implies surveillance infrastructure humanity hasn't detected despite decades of astronomical observation. The second explanation involves faster-than-light communication. Despite Einstein's prohibition, some theoretical physics frameworks allow information transfer that circumvents light speed limits without technically violating relativity. Quantum entanglement, wormholes, or manipulation of space-time geometry might enable instantaneous communication across galactic distances. The civilization demonstrating Kardashev Type II capabilities might have mastered physics that remains theoretical speculation for humans. This would explain both the real-time tracking of Earth's motion and the apparent responses to recent transmissions. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. The third explanation suggests the signal isn't coming from 26,000 light-years away at all. The apparent source location might be deliberate misdirection, using relay systems or gravitational lensing to make the transmission appear to originate from the galactic center when its actual source is much closer. This deception would serve multiple purposes, hiding the builder's true location while testing whether humans could distinguish between apparent and actual source coordinates. It would also maintain strategic ambiguity, preventing humanity from gaining intelligence about where the civilization actually resides. Analysis of the signal's propagation characteristics provided evidence for all 3 scenarios, while definitively proving none. The transmission exhibited phase coherence impossible to maintain across 26,000 light-years of turbulent interstellar medium, suggesting either relay amplification or exotic physics. The frequency locking to Earth's motion required information about our position, updated more frequently than light speed allows, supporting faster-than-light communication or nearby surveillance. Yet the signal's intensity and spectral characteristics matched expectations for transmission from the claimed distance, contradicting the false source hypothesis. The time lag problem extended beyond just signal transmission. The December 21st deadline encoded in the message created its own temporal paradox. If that date represented an arrival time, whatever was coming couldn't have originated from 26,000 light-years away in response to human radio emissions that had propagated less than 100 years into space. Either the departure occurred long before humans were detectable, suggesting the visitors were already en route when they sent their announcement, or travel times didn't constrain them, the way they constrained human spacecraft. Physicists pointed out that relativistic effects would allow travelers moving at speeds approaching light speed to experience much shorter journey times than outside observers measured. A traveler at 99% of light speed would experience time dilation, making a 26,000-year journey feel like only a few thousand years from their perspective. At 99.99%, the subjective journey time dropped to mere centuries. If the builders possessed propulsion capable of reaching such speeds, they might have launched their mission recently from their perspective, even though external observers would measure the journey in millennia. Yet even this relativistic explanation failed to account for the real-time signal modifications. Unless the entire network operated on relativistic timescales, with messages sent thousands of years ago, timed to arrive at specific moments relative to Earth's development, the distance problem remained unsolved. The signal exhibited behaviors that violated light speed limitations in ways that suggested either physics beyond human understanding or infrastructure and planning, operating on scales that made galactic distances trivial. By October 2025, with less than 3 months until the December deadline, humanity remained uncertain whether the signal came from ancient broadcasts, timed with impossible precision, or from sources using technology that made the galaxy as navigable as humans found their own planet. If an advanced civilization had been monitoring Earth long enough to send the Sagittarius signal, they would likely have deployed physical probes throughout our solar system. This realization drove astronomers to review decades of observations with new scrutiny, searching for objects that might be artifacts rather than natural phenomena. What they discovered in archived data raised questions that mainstream astronomy had dismissed for years, but now seemed urgent and terrifying. Oumuamua became the obvious starting point. This object, detected in October 2017 as it passed through the inner solar system, was the first confirmed interstellar visitor. Its unusual characteristics had sparked immediate speculation about artificial origins. The elongated shape, roughly 400 meters long and 40 meters wide, resembled no known asteroid or comet. It tumbled through space in complex rotation that suggested structural asymmetry. Most puzzling, Oumuamua accelerated away from the Sun in ways that couldn't be explained by outgassing, like a normal comet, because it showed no coma or tail. Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb had proposed in 2018 that Oumuamua might be a light sail, a thin, reflective sheet using solar radiation pressure for propulsion. The hypothesis was controversial and largely dismissed by mainstream astronomy. But in September 2025, researchers re-examining Oumuamua's trajectory noticed something previously overlooked. The object's acceleration profile, when plotted against time, showed subtle adjustments inconsistent with passive solar interaction. It was as if something was making course corrections, slight orientation changes that optimized its path through the inner solar system for maximum observational coverage of Earth and Mars. The second interstellar object, designated 2I Borisov and discovered in August 2019, seemed more conventional. It behaved like a typical comet with visible coma and tail, displaying normal outgassing characteristics. Yet reanalysis in light of the Sagittarius signal revealed anomalies in its dust distribution. The particle size distribution didn't match any known comet, suggesting composition or internal structure inconsistent with natural formation. Spectroscopic data showed emission lines that remained unexplained, possibly indicating manufactured materials mixed with natural ices. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. Multiple objects in Earth orbit had exhibited unexplained behavior patterns over the past 2 decades. Satellites occasionally reported close approaches by debris objects not catalogued in any tracking database. These encounters lasted seconds, with the unknown objects matching the satellite's orbit briefly before accelerating away. Military space surveillance systems had detected dozens of these incidents, but classified them as sensor anomalies or tracking errors. Reviewing this data revealed patterns suggesting deliberate inspection rather than random encounters. The International Space Station recorded video in 2021 showing an object pacing the station at fixed distance for approximately 11 minutes before departing. The footage, briefly posted online, then quickly removed, showed a dark, irregular shape approximately 2 meters across, exhibiting no visible propulsion but maintaining perfect orbital synchronization. Official explanation attributed the sighting to space debris and camera artifacts, but frame-by-frame analysis revealed the object rotated systematically as if scanning the station from multiple angles. Analysis of near-Earth asteroid surveys identified several objects in unusual orbits that required closer examination. These asteroids followed paths that shouldn't exist based on gravitational dynamics, requiring either recent insertion from interstellar space or propulsion systems maintaining orbits that would naturally decay. 3 objects in particular orbited at distances, allowing continuous observation of Earth while remaining at altitudes where solar heating would be moderate and detection difficult. Their surfaces showed radar reflectivity patterns inconsistent with natural rock or metal, suggesting composition or structure that didn't match typical asteroid materials. Deep space probe telemetry revealed additional anomalies. Voyager 1 and 2, now in interstellar space beyond the heliopause, had both reported brief communication disruptions over the past 5 years. These interruptions lasted minutes to hours and showed characteristics suggesting deliberate jamming rather than natural interference from plasma turbulence. The probes carried golden records with information about Earth and humanity, launched in 1977 as messages to potential alien finders. If those records had been examined by intelligences monitoring our solar system, it would explain how the Sagittarius signal demonstrated such detailed knowledge of human communication methods and mathematical frameworks. Ground-based telescopes discovered an object in 2023, designated 2023 FW13, that appeared to be a quasi-satellite of Earth, following an orbit synchronized with our planet's motion around the Sun. The object measured approximately 15 meters in diameter and exhibited radar characteristics suggesting metallic composition. Its orbit was too perfectly synchronized to be coincidental, requiring either recent capture under improbable circumstances or active station keeping. The object remained under observation, but its true nature, natural or artificial, couldn't be determined without direct investigation that no space agency had yet attempted. By October 2025, the artifact question had transformed from fringe speculation to legitimate scientific inquiry. The Sagittarius signal proved that advanced intelligences existed and were paying attention to Earth. The possibility that they had placed monitoring infrastructure throughout our solar system long before announcing their presence seemed not just plausible, but probable. In October 2025, astronomers made a discovery that sent chills through the scientific community and provided the first potential evidence of what advanced alien civilizations might actually do when they arrive at inhabited worlds. The discovery involved HD 189733b, a gas giant exoplanet located 63 light-years away in the constellation Vulpecula. This planet had been studied extensively since its discovery in 2005, providing astronomers with detailed knowledge of its atmospheric composition and weather patterns. What they found when re-examining recent observations suggested something had fundamentally altered that planet between 2019 and 2025. HD 189933b was famous for being the first exoplanet where astronomers detected the color of its atmosphere. Observations showed deep cobalt blue caused by silicate particles in its upper atmosphere scattering blue light, similar to how Earth's sky appears blue, but through entirely different chemistry. The planet was a hot Jupiter, orbiting its star every 2.2 days, at a distance where temperatures exceeded 1,000 degrees Celsius. Violent winds reaching 7,000 kilometers per hour stripped atoms from the atmosphere and created conditions utterly hostile to any life humans could imagine. Between 2005 and 2019, hundreds of observations documented HD 189733b's characteristics with remarkable consistency. The atmospheric spectrum showed methane, water vapor, carbon dioxide, and various exotic compounds expected for a hot Jupiter. The planet's temperature distribution, chemical composition, and reflectivity remained stable across 14 years of monitoring. Then something changed. Observations conducted in 2021 showed subtle alterations in the atmospheric spectrum. New absorption lines appeared that didn't match any known chemical compound. The planet's overall reflectivity decreased by approximately 3%, suggesting changes in atmospheric particle composition or density. These variations were noted, but attributed to seasonal effects or atmospheric weather cycles that might operate on longer timescales than previously observed. By 2023, the changes had become impossible to dismiss as natural variation. The planet's atmospheric temperature had increased by nearly 100 degrees Celsius across all measured wavelengths. The exotic absorption lines had strengthened and multiplied, now dominating portions of the spectrum where methane and water had previously been the primary features. Most striking, the planet's blue color had shifted toward greenish hues, suggesting wholesale replacement of silicate particles with some other atmospheric component. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. Analysis of archived radio telescope data revealed that HD 189733 system, the star and its planet, had been the source of unusual radio emissions beginning in late 2019. These emissions operated on frequencies and modulation patterns bearing similarities to the Sagittarius signal network, though much weaker and detectable only through careful reanalysis of data originally collected for other purposes. The emissions lasted approximately 7 months before ceasing entirely in mid-2020. The timeline was impossible to dismiss as coincidence. Radio emissions appeared first, followed by observable atmospheric changes that progressed over the subsequent years. It was as if something had arrived at HD 189733b, announced its presence through radio signals, then began systematically altering the planet's atmosphere through processes that remained visible 63 light-years away, even through relatively modest telescopes. The most disturbing aspect was what the atmospheric changes suggested about the process. The rapid temperature increase, wholesale chemical alterations, and dramatic color shift indicated industrial-scale atmospheric engineering. Whatever was happening at HD 189733b wasn't subtle observation or gentle contact. It was transformation, remaking an entire planet's atmosphere in just a few years through application of technology that could alter chemical composition faster than natural weathering processes operating over billions of years. Follow-up observations scheduled for late October 2025 aimed to document the planet's current state, but preliminary data suggested the transformation was continuing. The planet that had remained stable for at least 14 years, and likely billions of years before human observation, was now changing month by month. Each new observation showed further divergence from the hot Jupiter characteristics that had defined HD 189733b since its discovery. The implications for Earth were terrifying. If the pattern held, radio signals announced presence, then physical alteration began. The Sagittarius signal had been broadcasting since March 2025. HD 189733b's transformation began approximately 6 months after its radio emissions started. The December 21st deadline fell exactly 9 months after the Sagittarius signal's initial detection. The timescale matched, suggesting whatever happened to HD 189733b might represent humanity's future. Attempts to detect current radio emissions from the HD 189733 system found only silence. Whatever had been broadcasting in 2019 and 2020 had either completed its work, moved on, or stopped transmitting for reasons unknown. The planet continued changing, its atmosphere becoming progressively more alien, less like the hot Jupiter astronomers had studied for 2 decades, and more like something that had never existed naturally anywhere in the universe. By late October, with less than 2 months until Earth's own deadline, HD 189733b stood as a warning, written ins planetary scale engineering, visible across 63 light-years of space. Something was out there that could remake worlds, and it was coming here next. The transformation of HD 189733b forced scientists to reconsider one of the more unsettling proposed solutions to the Fermi paradox. The zoo hypothesis, first articulated by MIT radio astronomer John Ball in 1973, suggests that alien civilizations know about Earth and have been observing humanity for extended periods, but deliberately avoid contact to allow natural development. Just as humans create wildlife preserves where animals live without interference, while scientists observe from concealed positions, advanced civilizations might maintain Earth as a nature preserve for studying primitive intelligence. The hypothesis gained new credibility in October 2025 as researchers compiled evidence suggesting Earth had been under observation far longer than the Sagittarius signal's 9-month history. Analysis of unexplained phenomena throughout human history, previously dismissed as folklore or misidentification, revealed patterns consistent with long-term surveillance by intelligences, trying to remain hidden while occasionally making mistakes or deliberate appearances. The most compelling evidence came from analysis of historical accounts of unusual aerial phenomena. While most UFO reports throughout the 20th century were explained as aircraft, atmospheric effects, or deliberate hoaxes, a small percentage of encounters documented by military pilots and radar operators defied conventional explanation. These incidents involved objects demonstrating flight characteristics impossible for human technology. sudden acceleration exceeding thousands of g-forces that would destroy any conventional aircraft. Instantaneous velocity changes with no visible propulsion and apparent responses to human military activity, suggesting intelligence and awareness. The Pentagon's official acknowledgement in 2021 of unidentified aerial phenomena and the release of military footage showing objects exhibiting these impossible flight characteristics had briefly generated public interest. Most dismissed the revelations as classified experimental aircraft or sensor anomalies. But re-examination in late 2025 revealed patterns suggesting the phenomena intensified during periods of significant human technological advancement. Sightings peaked around the development of nuclear weapons in the 1940s, during the space race of the 1960s, and again in the early 21st century as artificial intelligence and quantum computing advanced. Ancient historical records provided additional disturbing parallels. Medieval manuscripts described aerial phenomena strikingly similar to modern UFO encounters. Renaissance artwork depicted strange objects in the sky, witnessed by multiple observers. Ancient texts from cultures worldwide contained accounts of visitors from the heavens who observed human activity, then departed. While these accounts were traditionally interpreted as religious visions or mythological embellishment, the consistent descriptions across unconnected cultures suggested possible basis in actual observations. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. Analysis of human genetic diversity revealed anomalies that population genetics couldn't easily explain. Modern humans underwent a population bottleneck approximately 70,000 years ago, reducing global population to perhaps 10,000 individuals. Genetic evidence suggested this bottleneck was followed by surprisingly rapid cognitive and cultural development. Within 30,000 years, humans had developed language, art, religion, and complex social structures. Some geneticists had long noted that the speed of this development seemed inconsistent with random evolutionary processes. The zoo hypothesis offered a controversial interpretation. Perhaps the 70,000-year bottleneck wasn't entirely natural. Perhaps it represented selection, culling human population while preserving certain genetic lineages. The subsequent rapid development might have been influenced, guided by observers who wanted to see whether this particular species could develop civilization. Archaeological evidence showed that human cognitive capacity hadn't significantly increased over the past 100,000 years, yet cultural complexity exploded relatively suddenly. What changed might not have been human biology, but external circumstances, allowing that biology to express capabilities that had been suppressed or undeveloped previously. Radio telescope observations of nearby star systems revealed another unsettling pattern. Several stars within 50 light-years of Earth showed evidence of artificial structures, possible Dyson spheres or other megastructures partially surrounding the stars and capturing their energy output. These structures exhibited transit signatures, periodic dimming as they passed between their star and Earth, with characteristics inconsistent with natural planets or dust clouds. The structures were positioned at distances from Earth that would allow monitoring our planet while remaining far enough to avoid casual detection by early human astronomy. The Sagittarius signal, a condensed account. The zoo hypothesis and December's deadline. The zoo hypothesis explained why advanced civilizations capable of interstellar travel hadn't made obvious contact despite humanity broadcasting its presence for over a century. It explained the patterns in unexplained aerial phenomena and possible genetic anomalies. Most significantly, it explained the Sagittarius signal's timing. Perhaps the observation period was ending. Perhaps humanity had developed sufficiently, or failed some evaluation, or simply reached a predetermined point where the experiment concluded and contact became inevitable. The December deadline took on new meaning under this framework. It might represent the date when Earth's status changed from protected preserve to something else entirely. Whether that something meant integration into galactic civilization, harvesting of resources, or termination of an experiment that had run its course, remained the terrifying question that would be answered in less than 2 months. Hawking's prophetic warning. In April 2010, physicist Stephen Hawking issued a warning that seemed paranoid at the time, but haunted humanity in the autumn of 2025. During an interview for a Discovery Channel documentary, Hawking stated that if aliens visit us, the outcome would be much like when Columbus landed in America, which didn't turn out well for the Native Americans. He argued that advanced civilizations might become nomadic, looking to conquer and colonize whatever planets they could reach. His recommendation was clear. Humanity should listen but never transmit, observing the universe silently while avoiding drawing attention to ourselves. The comparison to Columbus was particularly apt. When European explorers encountered the Americas, the technological gap was perhaps a few thousand years. Europeans had steel, gunpowder, and ocean-going ships, while indigenous peoples used stone tools. That relatively small advantage enabled conquest and the destruction of entire civilizations within decades. The gap between humanity and whatever sent the Sagittarius signal wasn't thousands of years, but potentially millions. Hawking's colleagues had largely dismissed his warnings as overly pessimistic, arguing that civilizations advanced enough for interstellar travel would have moved beyond primitive resource competition. These optimistic projections assumed alien psychology would follow human moral development, that compassion would increase with technological capability. But Hawking issued a second, less publicized warning in 2016 during the breakthrough Starshot launch. He expressed concern about active SETI, the practice of deliberately transmitting messages into space, arguing that until we know if advanced civilizations are friendly or hostile, we should maintain silence. His warning was ignored. Multiple transmissions were sent between 2016 and 2025, each announcing Earth's location to anyone listening. The unauthorized response to the Sagittarius signal in March 2025 represented exactly the scenario Hawking had warned against. Someone, without global consensus, had responded to an unknown intelligence demonstrating vastly superior technology. That response contained not just greetings, but possibly detailed information about Earth's defenses, resources, and vulnerabilities. Hawking's death in March 2018 meant he never learned about the Sagittarius signal. But his final public statement, delivered through a holographic presentation just months before his death, addressed exactly this possibility. He spoke about humanity's place in the cosmic order, emphasizing that surviving contact with more advanced species would require caution and recognition that the universe might not operate according to human preferences. The physicist had calculated survival probabilities for civilizations based on various contact scenarios. His models suggested that civilizations broadcasting their presence survived contact with advanced species less than 30% of the time. His conclusion was statistical and cold. Silence increased survival probability, transmission increased risk, and responding to unknown signals was potentially suicidal. By November 2025, with only weeks until the December deadline, Hawking's warnings had transformed from controversial speculation to prophetic wisdom. His final warning seemed written for this exact moment. We must be careful who we talk to out there. We don't know who they are or what they want. Until we do, silence is our best defense. That defense had been abandoned in March, and whatever consequences followed would arrive on December 21st. Reverse engineering the signal. By early November 2025, international teams had made breakthrough progress, understanding the technological principles underlying the Sagittarius signal. What they discovered wasn't just academic curiosity. The signal appeared designed to teach, embedding within its structure blueprints for communication technology more advanced than anything human science had achieved. Whether this represented a gift, a test, or preparation for something sinister remained unclear, but governments and private companies were racing to build hardware based on these alien principles. The most significant breakthrough involved quantum entanglement communication. The signal's apparent ability to respond in real time across 26,000 light-years violated known physics unless it used quantum channels that circumvented light speed limitations. Analysis revealed encoded instructions for creating entangled particle pairs that maintained correlation across arbitrary distances using nested entanglement hierarchies impossible to achieve with current technology. Research teams in the United States, China, and the European Union, working independently, arrived at similar conclusions. The signal didn't just demonstrate that faster-than-light communication was possible. It provided step-by-step instructions for building devices that could exploit these quantum channels. By late October, prototype quantum receivers were under construction at classified facilities on 3 continents. The energy focusing techniques revealed another revolutionary advancement. The transmission maintained coherence across galactic distances through methods that suggested manipulation of space-time geometry itself. Embedded mathematical structures described gravitational lensing at quantum scales, using microscopic space-time curvature to guide electromagnetic waves along paths that bypassed normal dispersive losses. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. The signal contained instructions for building receivers, but not transmitters. The encoded technological blueprints were deliberately one-sided, allowing humanity to listen on quantum channels, but not to broadcast on them. This asymmetry suggested intentional limitation, as if whoever designed the signal wanted Earth to receive messages while preventing humanity from using the same technology to transmit. The restriction implied either protective caution or strategic control. Military applications were inevitable and immediate. The quantum communication principles would revolutionize secure communications, allowing instantaneous coordination between military units anywhere without possibility of interception. Several nations accelerated classified programs to weaponize these capabilities, viewing December 21st as a potential conflict scenario, requiring every technological advantage available. Private companies also pursued commercial applications. Quantum communication technology would enable internet connectivity with zero latency, regardless of distance. Several tech companies that had invested in Project Lighthouse redirected resources toward building commercial quantum communication networks, hoping to monetize alien technology before governments could regulate civilian access. The computational principles embedded in the signal offered insights into processing architectures completely unlike human computer design. The signal's error correction and data compression utilized quantum computing methods operating at room temperature without the supercooling requirements that limited human quantum computers. Research labs worldwide began constructing processors based on these principles, potentially leapfrogging decades of development. Theoretical physicists raised concerns that implementing alien technology without fully understanding the underlying principles was dangerous. The signal might contain hidden functions that wouldn't become apparent until the technology was widely deployed. Building communication devices according to alien specifications might create backdoors the signal's creators could exploit. The technology could be a Trojan horse, offered freely but designed to give its creators access to human systems once implemented. These warnings were largely ignored in the race to achieve technological advantages before December 21st. By mid-November, at least 7 quantum communication systems based on reverse-engineered alien principles were operational in test facilities worldwide. Humanity was building infrastructure using blueprints provided by unknown intelligences, hoping the gift represented goodwill while preparing for the possibility it represented something far more calculated and dangerous. Breakthrough Starshot's transformation. Breakthrough Starshot, announced in April 2016 by billionaire Yuri Milner and Stephen Hawking, proposed sending tiny spacecraft to Alpha Centauri using powerful laser arrays to accelerate light sail probes to 20% of light speed. The project aimed to reach our nearest stellar neighbor in approximately 20 years. The initiative received significant funding, but progressed slowly through the late 2010s and early 2020s as engineering challenges proved more difficult than projected. Then, in August 2025, 5 months after the Sagittarius signal's detection, Breakthrough Starshot received an unprecedented injection of $12 billion from sources that included government defense budgets, international space agencies, and private investors who had previously shown no interest in interstellar exploration. This sudden financial commitment transformed the project from a long-term research initiative into a crash program with accelerated timelines and expanded objectives. Internal documents leaked in early November revealed that Breakthrough Starshot was no longer planning a simple flyby of Alpha Centauri. The revised mission profile called for launching hundreds of probes, not toward Alpha Centauri, but toward coordinates throughout the solar system and beyond, with some targeted at the secondary signal sources in the Sagittarius transmission network. The probes would carry advanced sensors, communication equipment based on reverse-engineered quantum principles, and small nuclear devices, officially described as power sources, but functionally capable of serving as weapons. The accelerated timeline was even more revealing. Original plans had projected first launches no earlier than 2030, but revised schedules showed launch readiness by mid-December 2025. This represented a compression of 5 years of development into less than 9 months, impossible through normal engineering processes, but achievable if existing technology was being repurposed, and if safety protocols were being waived or dramatically reduced. The project was no longer about scientific exploration. It had become something urgent, something that needed to be operational before December 21st. But here's what's really bizarre that no one is talking about. The laser array being constructed for probe acceleration was being built with power output far exceeding what small interstellar spacecraft would require. The facility under construction in Chile's Atacama Desert was designed to deliver petawatts of focused laser energy, thousands of times more powerful than necessary for accelerating gram-scale probes. This power level suggested dual purposes: propulsion for outbound spacecraft and potential defense against inbound threats. The laser could theoretically be redirected from accelerating probes to targeting objects approaching Earth from space. Analysis of the probe design revealed capabilities inconsistent with peaceful scientific exploration. Each probe carried sensors designed to detect and analyze artificial structures, communication equipment for coordinating with other probes in a network configuration, and maneuvering thrusters far more capable than needed for simple trajectory corrections. The nuclear power sources could theoretically be converted to explosive devices with yields in the kiloton range, small by terrestrial nuclear weapon standards, but sufficient to destroy or damage spacecraft or structures in the vacuum of space. The connection to the Sagittarius signal became explicit when researchers discovered that probe communication systems were designed to operate on the same quantum entanglement principles extracted from the alien transmission. This would allow the probes to communicate instantaneously across interstellar distances, coordinating their activities in real time despite being scattered throughout the solar system and beyond. The network architecture suggested the probes weren't independent scouts, but components of an integrated surveillance and response system. The December deadline was now just weeks away, and with it would come the moment humanity discovered whether reverse engineering alien technology had prepared us for first contact, or simply made us more useful to whatever was coming. Publicly, Breakthrough Starshot maintained that acceleration reflected scientific opportunity. Behind closed doors, the project represented humanity's desperate attempt to field space-based capability before December 21st. The ethics generated intense debate. Many researchers resigned when military applications became apparent, but governments invoked national security classifications, restricting discussion. By late November, the Chilean laser facility underwent final testing. Hundreds of probes awaited launch. The launch window opened December 15th, 6 days before the deadline. Whether the probes represented humanity's first serious interstellar presence or futile gesture against incomprehensible forces would be revealed when December 21st arrived. In September 2025, SpaceX announced unprecedented acceleration of Mars colonization. 6 Starship missions would carry over 300 colonists to establish permanent presence before the December deadline. The colonists underwent only 8 weeks of abbreviated training. Selection criteria emphasized reproductive health and genetic diversity rather than technical expertise, suggesting the colony's purpose was establishing a human population separate from Earth before whatever the signal represented arrived. NASA's Artemis program experienced similar acceleration. Multiple launches delivered habitat modules and supplies sufficient to sustain 200 people on the Moon without resupply. But here's what's really bizarre. Both colonies were positioned with specific capabilities, targeting the Sagittarius signal directions, not for optimal resources, but for unobstructed views of where the transmissions originated. The colonies served dual purposes: survival refuges if something catastrophic happened on Earth, and observation posts beyond Earth's atmosphere. Over $100 billion was redirected toward off-world colonies in 3 months, the largest space exploration mobilization in history. By late November, permanent human presence existed on both Mars and the Moon for the first time. If December brought catastrophe to Earth, small populations would survive elsewhere, continuing human civilization. On November 28, 2025, linguists and cryptographers achieved what months of analysis had failed to accomplish. They decoded the complete Sagittarius signal. The message transformed the December deadline from ambiguous threat into something far more complex. The message confirmed Earth had been under observation for approximately 12,000 years, since humanity first began developing agriculture. The observers maintained developmental quarantine to allow natural evolution. The Sagittarius signal represented the end of that quarantine, triggered when humanity achieved specific technological milestones: nuclear weapons, space travel, quantum computing, and artificial intelligence. The December 21st date represented the arrival of an evaluation fleet. Ships were already en route, having departed when humanity crossed technological thresholds over the past century. The fleet would conduct direct assessment of humanity's developmental status, examining our capabilities, social structures, and potential for integration into galactic civilization. But here's what's really bizarre. The message contained explicit evaluation criteria. The 9 months between signal detection and December deadline was itself part of the evaluation. How humanity responded, with panic or cooperation, violence or curiosity, unity or fragmentation, would factor into the final assessment. The message outlined 3 possible outcomes. First, if humanity passed, we'd gain access to galactic communication networks and technological assistance. Second, if we failed but showed potential, quarantine would be extended indefinitely. Third, if we failed and posed a threat, immediate action would ensure humanity could never achieve interstellar travel. What the message called permanent developmental limitation. The decoded message revealed humanity wasn't facing first contact with a single species, but introduction to the Galactic Coordination Network, a federation of approximately 800 civilizations spanning the Milky Way. This network had existed for at least 2 million years. Earth had unknowingly existed within monitored territory since before modern humans evolved. If evaluation succeeded, Earth would gain access to communication channels connecting hundreds of civilizations, receiving knowledge accumulated over millions of years. But here's what's really bizarre. Approximately 40% of civilizations that reached evaluation stage failed and faced permanent developmental limitation. The galaxy contained thousands of quarantined worlds where species had proven too violent or reckless to be allowed beyond their home systems. Buried within the decoded message, researchers discovered why the Federation was so concerned with evaluating younger civilizations. The galaxy faced an approaching threat requiring coordinated defense from every available species. The threat originated from extragalactic intelligences whose own galaxies had been consumed. These displaced civilizations were moving into the Milky Way seeking resources, and they weren't interested in negotiation. The Federation had been preparing defenses for approximately 50,000 years. Humanity's evaluation wasn't just about membership. It was about whether humanity could be trusted with advanced technology and integrated into collective defense systems. Species that passed would receive technology and training to contribute to defense. Species that failed would be quarantined to prevent their technology from being captured by invaders. December 21st, 2025 arrived with clear skies. At 1447 Universal Time, multiple observatories detected sudden appearance of objects in near-Earth space, not approaching from distant coordinates, but materializing directly into positions surrounding the planet. The objects numbered in the hundreds, each measuring between 1 and 10 kilometers across. They had arrived exactly as promised. The fleet maintained position in geometric formation enclosing Earth. A single brief transmission acknowledged arrival and instructed humanity to continue normal activities while evaluation proceeded. But here's what's really bizarre. Within hours, every reverse-engineered quantum communication device humanity had built activated simultaneously. The devices began receiving data streams containing comprehensive assessments of human civilization, transmitted directly as if the fleet was uploading evaluation criteria and findings in real time. Humanity had built receivers following alien specifications, and now those receivers were delivering judgment. The verdict awaits. The arrival definitively answered the question. The Sagittarius signal was artificial, transmitted by intelligences commanding technology that allowed faster-than-light travel. Every natural explanation collapsed under physical evidence now orbiting Earth. As December 21st drew to a close, humanity waited for judgment. The 9 months had revealed both the best and worst of human nature. International cooperation alongside continued conflicts. Brilliant initiative alongside fragmentation. The evaluation might already be complete, with the fleet's arrival representing not the beginning of assessment, but delivery of judgment based on 12,000 years of observation. If humanity passed, life would transform beyond recognition within a generation. If humanity failed, consequences ranged from extended isolation to extinction. The colonies on Mars and the Moon might represent all that survived. The Sagittarius signal had been humanity's wake-up call, announcing we were not alone and never had been. The evaluation fleet represented the moment we discovered whether being noticed meant salvation or doom. The signal continues broadcasting even now, and whatever comes next will determine whether humanity's story continues into a galactic future or ends as another cautionary tale about a species that reached for the stars before it was ready.